So this is just going to be a short video about how I whittle down the companies that I am thinking about investing in that pay dividends. So the first place that I come to is this Drip Investing Resource Center. It's a great website. There's lots of great tools here. There's spreadsheets and calculators and books and all sorts. So I recommend that you take a look at it and study it a bit. But what I'm going to focus on is this US Dividend Champion spreadsheet. So I'll just go ahead and open that up. Okay, and when you open it up, you can see that there's a couple of different screens that we have here. So we've got champions, contenders, and challengers, and so on. So a champion is a company that increases their dividend every year for 25 years straight. Contenders increasing from 10 years up to 25 years, and then challengers is everything below that. So when I'm doing this, I only focus on contenders and champions. I disregard the challengers because they're a little bit high risk, but feel free to include them if you like. For today's video, I'm simply just going to use the champions. I'll just make it a little bit quicker. We'll just get through it. Usually this takes about 20 minutes. It doesn't take too long, so I do it at the end of every month or the start of every month. It's quite quick. So, the first thing that I do on this is that I take away some of the information. You can see there's a lot of information here, and it can be quite distracting. So, well, it is for me anyway. So I'll just go to get rid of it. So what I do is anything after this dividend growth rate on SELAO, I'll just hide that. And just make sure that you do hide it and don't delete it. If you delete it, then these figures will disappear. We kind of need them, so just hide it. And then we're going to hide all this. So from cell P to AJ, we'll hide that. And I'm just going to hide these three. Perfect. Okay. So as you can see, we've got quite a few companies here. So we need to whittle that down to a more manageable figure. So I'm just going to separate these for a second. Perfect. So what I do is I look at this dividend yield. So you can see that Forsource Corporation, their dividend yield is 1.78. So if we look at, say, this website here, we can get the S&P 500 dividend yield. So that's Standard & Poor's 500 dividend yield, and that currently sits at 1.78. So pretty much exactly what this company are paying. But what I look to do here is I look to do better than that. So I look at companies that are paying at least 1.5, maybe double that if I'm more conservative. So for today, I look at maybe 1.5, and we'll take out any company that doesn't meet that criteria. So V equals 1.78 multiplied by 1.5, 2.67. What I'll do is I'm going to round that up to 3. So we'll filter this from the largest to the smallest. Take away the first one, and below 3 will vanish. Lovely. Okay. So the next thing that I do is that I have a look at here, and anything that's in red, I just get rid of straight off the bat. I won't go into why, but generally on this, red means bad. It gives you all sorts of explanations up here if you want to read them, but just to make the video as short as possible, I'm just going to get rid of them straight away. Okay, and that leaves us with about 20 companies, so we're not doing too bad at all. So the next thing that I look at is I look at these dividend growth rates here. So I want the average to be about 5, and I don't really like huge gaps in them. See like this here, we've got 1 year is 5.2, and then the 10 years 16.7. So it's a downward trend. So I kind of get rid of that. So I'll get rid of them as I go. stay. Okay, so that's left us with 10 companies that we can look at there, so we're not doing too bad at all. So what I do is I have a look here at the industry, and anything that are the REITs, that's real estate investment trusts, I get rid of. Again, I find them high risk. My risk is quite low when I'm doing this kind of. I do other high risk investment, but this is not one of them. So I try to keep the risk as minimal as possible on it. So I get rid of them straight off the bat. So we're left with 9 companies. So what I look for here is I go and look for the free cash flow of the company, and then I look for the dividend that they need to pay. So essentially what I'm looking to see is that they have enough cash to cover the dividend. Some people like to look at all sorts of stuff like earnings and so on, but I feel that earnings can be a little bit misleading in terms that companies can do all sorts. They can make it look like they've earned more or earned less due to the way that they do the books. So I look at the cold hard cash, and I just make sure that they have enough cash that covers the dividend. So what I'll be doing is I'll be dividing the dividend by the free cash flow, and I want this figure here to be under 75, preferably under 70%. So let's have a look at this group alt here. Okay, so if you go on to, I'll show you to get this, financials.morningstar.com, you can just type in the ticker and find the company that you're looking for. And if you go to cash flow, and you'll be given a whole heap of information here. It is nice to know what some of these are, maybe not all of them. So I do encourage you to do some maybe research and some reading on them. But for now, we're just going to focus on this TTM, so trailing 12-month column. And we're just going to focus on 2 things really. So we're going to focus on this free cash flow and dividend paid. So if you look at the free cash flow here, we can see that it is 4723, but the dividend paid is 4807. So as we can see that the dividend is actually more than the free cash flow, so we can eliminate them pretty much straight off the bat. There's no need to even think about them for a moment. And then we look at this Meredith Corp, so MDP. An easy way to get that, instead of going back to the main page, is if you see this ticker value and you can just change it. DP. Okay, so there's Meredith Corporation. So if we scroll down here, we can see that the free cash flow here is 151, and that the dividend paid here is 94. So 94 and 151. So you can see that that's 62%. So the dividend takes up 62% of the cash flow. That's perfect. I mean, I look for anything that's under 70, maybe 75 at a push. So 62% fits in. I would do this for each of these companies, and I'd eliminate on it. I'm normally left with maybe 3 or 4 companies. And from there then, you just kind of have to do a bit of digging on the company and see which ones you're most comfortable with in investing. But that's pretty much it. I'll detail how I did this again in the blog post, and if you have any questions